Life will knock you down. It will test you, break you, and sometimes it will feel like the universe is conspiring against you. You'll face losses, heartbreaks, failures, betrayals, setbacks you never saw coming. And in those moments, you might think it's over. You might believe you've been defeated. But I want you to understand something deep in your soul. You can come back from anything. Think about it. The greatest stories, the most inspiring lives, the people we look up to, none of them were born in perfect circumstances. They were shaped in the fire of struggle. They were defined not by what knocked them down, but by the courage to rise again. Your greatest advantage is not never falling. It's refusing to stay on the ground when life slams you down. You see, pain is not the end. Pain is a signal. It's telling you that something must change, that something inside you must awaken. Every setback is an invitation to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. Your failures are not the end of the road. They are detours pointing you toward a better path. The divorce, the bankruptcy, the rejection, the loss. None of it has the power to define you unless you allow it. What defines you is the comeback. The truth is, you already have everything inside you to rise again. That strength you're searching for, it's not out there. It's within you. It's in the moments when you thought you couldn't take another step, yet you did. It's in the times you felt broken but kept moving anyway. You've survived 100% of your worst days so far. Don't underestimate that. When you decide that nothing will keep you down, you become unstoppable. The comeback doesn't start when the world changes. It starts the moment you choose to change. It starts when you stop asking why me and start asking what now. It starts when you take all that pain, all that anger, all that disappointment and transform it into fuel. Remember this, champions are not those who never fail. Champions are those who never quit. You are capable of rewriting your story, no matter how dark the last chapter has been. The question is, will you let your circumstances bury you, or will you rise from them stronger than ever before? Your comeback can be greater than your setback. Your future can be bigger than your past. You can heal, you can rebuild, you can create a life far beyond anything you've lost. Don't let temporary defeat trick you into believing it's permanent. You have the power to begin again, to rise higher, to prove to yourself and the world that you are unbreakable. You can come back from anything. Setbacks are setups for comebacks, and that truth is one of the most liberating realizations you can ever have in life. Every time you fall, every time something crumbles around you, every time you face a failure that feels too heavy to bear, you are not being buried, you are being planted. Life doesn't throw challenges your way to destroy you. It throws them at you to refine you, to test you, to prepare you for something much greater than you can currently see. When you look at a setback and only see loss, you miss the opportunity hidden inside. But when you recognize that every setback carries the seed of a setup, your entire perspective shifts, and you no longer run from adversity. You lean into it, because you understand it is carving out the strength, resilience, and wisdom required for your comeback. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who have been knocked down over and over, sometimes to the very edge of breaking, and yet found a way to rise. They learned that rejection was redirection, that obstacles were stepping stones, that mistakes were lessons in disguise. Think about the times in your own life when things went wrong, moments that felt unbearable, moments that shook you to your core. If you look back closely, you'll see those moments didn't just take from you, they gave you something. Maybe it was clarity about what really matters. Maybe it was a new direction you would have never chosen on your own. Maybe it was the fire that pushed you to grow in ways you never thought possible. Those gifts only come when you stop treating setbacks as permanent defeats and start treating them as temporary tests. Setbacks force you to confront yourself. They strip away the illusions, the comfort, and the excuses. They reveal who you are when things don't go your way. Anybody can smile when the sun is shining, but who are you when the storm comes? That's where true character is born. That's where leaders are created. That's where comebacks are written. A setback pushes you into a place of decision. Will you stay down, or will you rise up stronger? The choice you make in that moment determines everything. If you choose to see the setback as an ending, you close the door on your future. But if you choose to see it as a setup, you open the door to limitless possibilities. Every invention, every business empire, every legendary success story has failure at its foundation. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Thomas Edison was told he was wasting his life chasing inventions. Countless athletes have been cut from teams only to come back and dominate their sport. These people didn't see their failures as final. They saw them as feedback. They saw the no's, the mistakes, the breakdowns as part of the path, not the end of the path. That's why their comebacks were so powerful. Because the greater the setback, the greater the setup. The deeper the fall, the stronger the rise. That principle doesn't only belong to them. It belongs to you too. When you accept that setbacks are not walls but doors, you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And you start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That question alone transforms your life, because it shifts you from being a victim of circumstances to being a student of life. And when you become a student of life, every challenge becomes a lesson, every loss becomes wisdom, every wound becomes strength. Suddenly, even in the darkest season, you can see light, because you know this is not the end, it's the preparation ground for your comeback. Pain is fuel, and understanding this is one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal that something is happening, that something inside you is being challenged, and that growth is waiting on the other side. Every ache, every heartbreak, every failure, every moment that feels unbearable is an opportunity if you choose to see it that way. Most people run from pain, try to numb it or deny it, but those who harness it, those who transform it into energy, are the ones who create extraordinary lives. The fire of pain has the power to forge strength, determination, and resilience that comfort can never provide. When you feel pain, it means you are alive, you are human, and you are on the edge of transformation. Pain shakes you awake. It forces you to stop pretending. It exposes weakness, but also exposes potential. If you can learn to use pain as fuel, you no longer fear it, you no longer avoid it, and you no longer waste time wishing it away. Every setback, every disappointment, every failure that hurts you deeply is a spark. It is a spark that can ignite your courage, your determination, your focus, and your creativity. Pain can either paralyze you or it can propel you into action. The difference is choice. History is filled with examples of people who transformed pain into greatness. Athletes who trained harder after a devastating loss. Entrepreneurs who launched new ventures after bankruptcy or rejection. Artists who poured heartbreak into their work and created masterpieces that touched millions. What they realized, and what you must realize, is that pain is temporary, but the power it produces can be permanent. Pain becomes fuel when you stop asking "why me?" and start asking "what can I do with this?" The question shifts you from victim to victor, from passive to proactive, from despair to determination. Pain teaches you clarity. It shows you what matters, what doesn't, and where your strength truly lies. It exposes the truth about your priorities, your relationships, and your goals. When you embrace your pain rather than fight it, you gain insight. You understand what to change, what to let go, and where to focus your energy. Most people waste energy resisting reality, resenting what happened, and regretting choices. But when you use pain as fuel, every drop of hurt becomes a stepping stone. Every wound becomes a teacher. Every struggle becomes a guide pointing you to your next level of life. There is power in decision during pain. When you feel broken, when you feel lost, when you feel like giving up, that is the exact moment that your choices define your future. Will you allow pain to consume you, or will you use it to drive you forward? Will you let it keep you small, or will it push you to grow? Every action you take fueled by pain is amplified. Every step forward, every effort, every leap you take in the face of adversity is magnified. Pain is not a limitation, it is the engine of your comeback. Your mind is your greatest ally in turning pain into fuel. You can decide to see your pain as temporary, as a lesson, and as a challenge to rise higher. You can choose to convert every negative emotion into energy for change. When you train yourself to see pain as a catalyst rather than a curse, you stop being paralyzed by fear, regret, or frustration. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What next?" The difference is monumental because energy follows focus. When your focus is on how pain can empower you rather than defeat you, your entire life begins to change. Pain also builds resilience. The more you confront it, the more you push through it, the stronger you become. Every difficult conversation, every financial struggle, every personal loss, every health challenge becomes part of your foundation. You may not see it at the moment, but that foundation is being built beneath you. The setbacks and hardships that feel unbearable now are shaping your ability to endure, to persevere, and to thrive. Pain fuels growth, but only if you embrace it, only if you refuse to run from it, and only if you turn it into action rather than surrender. Resilience is built, not given, and it is one of the most critical qualities you can develop if you want to achieve lasting success in life. Nobody is born unbreakable. Nobody wakes up one day and is naturally impervious to setbacks, criticism, or failure. Resilience is not something you inherit. It is something you create, piece by piece, decision by decision, action by action. It is forged in the moments when you face difficulty and refuse to surrender, when life pushes you to the edge and you find a way to keep moving forward. The people you admire for their strength, courage, and persistence did not stumble into resilience. They built it. They developed it consciously through struggle, perseverance, and repeated commitment to rise every time they fell. The foundation of resilience begins with mindset. Resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending challenges don't exist. It is about choosing how you respond when life tests you. Every obstacle you face, every failure you endure, every situation that seems insurmountable is an opportunity to strengthen your mental toughness. When you learn to approach adversity with curiosity rather than fear, with determination rather than despair, you create resilience. It is in those moments of discomfort, when you are pushed beyond what you thought you could handle, that your character is being shaped. Resilience grows when you face life head on instead of turning away, when you confront reality and make a conscious decision to move forward regardless of the circumstances. Resilience also comes from taking responsibility for your life. When you blame others, when you wait for circumstances to change, when you depend on luck or external validation, your power diminishes. But when you accept that you have control over your actions, your thoughts, and your attitude, you reclaim your ability to rise. The resilient person understands that life may not be fair, that setbacks will happen, that pain is inevitable, but what matters most is how they respond. They do not let hardship define them. They do not let fear dictate their decisions. They use every challenge as a training ground for their mind, body, and spirit. Preparing themselves for even greater victories ahead, the act of getting up again after failure, is what builds resilience. It is not the absence of struggle, but the refusal to quit that strengthens you. Every time you recover from disappointment, every time you pick yourself up after rejection, every time you continue to move forward when the world expects you to give up, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your unshakable strength. Resilience is cumulative. It grows with each experience, each choice, each effort to persevere. The more you endure, the more you adapt, and the more you are prepared to face whatever life throws at you next. Your ability to withstand hardship expands in proportion to your willingness to confront it, rather than flee. Support systems also play a role in building resilience. While the core of your strength comes from within, The people around you can inspire, challenge, and lift you when necessary. Surround yourself with those who believe in growth, who model perseverance, who encourage you to rise when you stumble. These relationships do not eliminate difficulty, but they reinforce your ability to endure. They remind you that resilience is not about being invincible. It is about being resourceful, adaptable, and determined even when the journey is hard. Community, mentorship, and positive influences act as mirrors reflecting back your potential and fueling your commitment to rise again finally. Resilience is built through action, not wishful thinking. Thinking positively, visualizing success, and hoping for change are not enough. You must take deliberate steps to grow stronger, to practice perseverance, to face fear, and to embrace discomfort. It is in the repeated acts of courage, the daily commitment to improve, and the consistent effort to rise after falling that resilience becomes real and unshakable. Life will continue to challenge you, but each time you respond with courage, each time you choose action over inaction, you are building a reservoir of strength that no circumstance can fully drain. Your story isn't over, and that is one of the most powerful truths you can hold on to in life. No matter how many setbacks you've faced, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how many times you've felt like giving up, the narrative of your life is still being written. The chapters that feel dark, the pages that feel filled with failure, are not the final lines. Life is not a single moment, it is a series of moments, and each moment is an opportunity to turn the page, to write a new sentence, to create a new chapter. The moment you accept that your story isn't over, you reclaim control over your life and unlock the potential for a future far beyond what you imagine. Many people stop too soon. They allow a setback, a loss, a heartbreak, or a failure to convince them that their journey has ended. They close the book on their dreams before they even finish the first chapter. But the truth is, life continues, and so does the opportunity for growth, transformation, and victory. Every ending is actually a beginning in disguise. Every loss is a lesson, every failure is a teacher, and every disappointment is a guide. You have the ability to turn pain into progress, frustration into fuel, and despair into determination. The story you think is finished is only paused, waiting for your next move, your next decision, your next leap of courage. The key to realizing that your story isn't over lies in perspective. You must learn to see challenges as plot twists, failures as turning points, and obstacles as invitations to rise. Every successful person has faced moments where it seemed like the narrative had reached its conclusion, but they chose to rewrite the script. They chose to refuse the notion that this moment defined them permanently. You have the same power. The mistakes you made yesterday do not have the power to dictate your tomorrow. The failures you endured last year do not have the authority to decide the next chapter of your life. You hold the pen, and you get to decide how the story unfolds. Life is rarely linear. You will face setbacks, detours, and unexpected hurdles. You will encounter moments that feel like endings, moments when you think there is no way forward. But these moments are not final. They are chapters designed to teach, to test, and to strengthen you. When you embrace the belief that your story isn't over, you stop seeing the past as a prison and start seeing it as preparation. Every challenge, every disappointment, every difficulty has value because it equips you to handle the next chapter with greater wisdom, resilience, and courage. The power is in your hands to turn each setback into a setup for a comeback. Hope and action must work together for your story to continue. It is not enough to simply believe that the story isn't over. You must also act as if it isn't. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a sentence added to the next chapter. Every choice to rise, to persist, and to keep moving despite fear and doubt is a paragraph written in bold letters. Your actions give life to your belief. Without action, hope is fragile. With action, belief becomes unstoppable, and your story unfolds in ways that surprise even you. Your story isn't over because growth is ongoing. You are constantly evolving, learning, and adapting. Every setback, every disappointment, and every failure carries lessons that you can apply to create a richer, fuller, and more meaningful narrative. Life does not require perfection, it requires persistence. The person you were yesterday does not define the person you can become tomorrow. The dreams you once thought were lost can be revived, reshaped, and achieved. Every chapter of your life, no matter how challenging, is part of the journey toward your ultimate success. The moment you internalize that your story isn't over, you gain freedom. You stop being limited by your past. You stop allowing mistakes, regrets, or external opinions to dictate your potential. You start seeing every day as a blank page, every opportunity as a chance to rewrite your narrative, every challenge as a scene in which you play the hero. Your story continues because you continue. Your story is alive because you are alive, and as long as you are willing to rise, to act, and to move forward, the best chapters are yet to be written. Choice creates change, and that is the single most powerful truth you can embrace if you want to transform your life. Every moment you are faced with circumstances, whether they are favorable or challenging, you have a decision to make. You can let your past define you, you can let your failures dictate your future, or you can choose a different path, a path that leads to growth, progress, and ultimate victory. Change does not happen by accident. Change does not happen when you wait for someone else to give you permission or fix your situation. Change begins the instant you make a conscious choice to take control of your life and refuse to remain a passive observer. It begins the moment you decide that your circumstances will no longer control you. The incredible thing about choice is that it empowers you even in situations that feel hopeless. You may not be able to control what has happened to you, but you can control how you respond. You may not be able to undo past mistakes, but you can decide how to act moving forward. Every setback, every failure, every disappointment carries within it the opportunity for a deliberate choice, one that can redefine your path. When you accept responsibility for your choices, you reclaim your power. You move from being a victim of circumstance to being the architect of your destiny. That shift in perspective is transformative because it opens doors that fear and doubt would otherwise keep closed. Choice is the starting point of action, and action is the engine of change. It is not enough to hope for things to get better or to dream about a brighter future. You must make decisions that align with the life you want to create. The choice to rise when you've fallen, to persevere when others quit, to keep moving forward when it would be easier to give up, is the catalyst for transformation. Each choice is a step, each decision is a building block, and each action driven by conscious choice propels you toward a future that is bigger than your past. The cumulative effect of these choices compounds over time, creating momentum that carries you through obstacles and turns challenges into opportunities. Every choice carries power because it changes the trajectory of your life. One decision can alter everything, but what makes that decision meaningful is consistency. The power of choice is not only in single moments of crisis, it is in the daily decisions, the small but deliberate steps taken to align with your goals. Choosing to invest in yourself, to pursue growth, to face fear instead of avoiding it, to act with courage and determination, all of these choices accumulate, and over time they create profound change. You are not defined by your circumstances, but by the decisions you make in response to them. And those decisions are the true measure of your power. Choice also creates clarity. When you consciously choose how to respond to life, you gain insight into who you are, what you value, and what you are capable of achieving. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to see possibilities where others see limitations. You understand that life is not a series of random events, but a canvas on which you can paint your destiny through the power of intentional decisions. The choices you make shape not only your present but also your future. Every decision, no matter how small, is a declaration of what you stand for and what you refuse to accept even in moments of struggle. Choice empowers you to transform adversity into advantage. You may face failures, setbacks, and losses, but each of these moments carries a decision. Will you succumb to despair, or will you use the challenge as fuel for growth? Will you allow fear to dictate your path, or will you act with courage despite it? Will you let the circumstances define you, or will you define your circumstances through your actions? The answers to these questions are determined by the choices you make, and those choices can turn even the darkest moments into stepping stones toward a brighter future. Choice creates change because it breaks the cycle of passivity. When you act deliberately, you move from reaction to creation. You move from being controlled by events to controlling the outcome. You realize that you have a say in how your story unfolds, that you have the ability to shape your destiny, and that the power to transform your life resides within you. Every choice, every decision, every deliberate act builds momentum, resilience, and opportunity. You are never powerless unless you choose to be, and when you embrace the power of choice, you step into a life where change is not only possible, it is inevitable.